Welcome back. Now, Iziko Museums of South Africa is hosting the first retrospective exhibition of globally acclaimed South African artist Sue Williamson. Sue Williamson, there's something I must tell you, is a retrospective exhibition. It's curated by Andrew Lamprecht, which opened at the Iziko South African National Gallery on the 22nd of February. This landmark exhibition, fitting 8 rooms and the Atrium of the ISANG, visually documents her extraordinary journey spanning more than 5 decades of creativity as well as impact. And so we're joined virtually by the exhibition curator, Andrew Lamprecht, to expand further. Andrew, good morning, and thank you for making time to chat with us.
Good morning. Thank you very much for having me.
I mean, this is a phenomenal feat, and congratulations to all involved. I think if we're looking at what inspired you in particular to create a retrospective exhibition of Sue Williamson's work, given the impact that she's had, what do you hope visitors ultimately are going to be walking away from the experience?
Well, Sue's work is incredibly rich, and for over 50 years, she's been looking at various cases of social injustice and issues of historical legacies in South Africa. So I think visitors, whether they're local or international, will be able to place things that happened within the South African history in a context and learn about them, not necessarily through the pages of a textbook or through a documentary or something like that, but actually through visual art. The exhibition spans the South African time period from basically the time when the Dutch arrived, and then continued to right to the present with various events that took place. And Sue's work is very contemporary as well. She's dealing with contemporary issues. So I think visitors will be able to take away lessons from history, but also looking to the future, what we are doing right now. But Sue has been a pioneer and an activist her entire life. And I think that's something which is really useful to understand, that we too can be activists and people who are concerned with social justice.
I mean, Sue's well known for her portraits of women, and as you alluded to, her social justice activism, and even the title itself. You know, there's something that I must tell you. I mean, the exhibition is quite provocative, and perhaps you can then elaborate on the significance of this title and how it relates to Sue Williamson's work. I know that in a prior lifetime or perhaps career, she started off as a journalist as well.
Absolutely. I think that is how she started. She started with journalism, and she discovered things that perhaps a lot of white people in South Africa weren't aware of. At places like Crossroads, for example, where she was very concerned as a journalist about forced removals, the destruction, the burning of people's homes and demolishing of people's homes. And I think what she started to do was to actually work on the ground to basically give support and present information about these injustices. The title is really quite significant because Sue's work invites conversation. That's really important. The poster of the exhibition is an empty chair in District 6, which actually references one of the new works she's created, an installation which she's created for this exhibition, sorry. And there are a number of works where there are conversations happening. In fact, the title is taken from a work, which is an 8-channel video, which basically shows, shall we say, grandmothers who are involved in the struggle leaders, talking to their born-free grandchildren about what happened, and the grandchildren are talking back to them and saying, you know, what impact did this have on the family? You gave your life to the struggle, and perhaps the family, didn't have the same opportunities. And it's really interesting. I mean, Sue's work, even at the gallery now, when you see visitors, they're always talking, they're always having discussions. You know, galleries are often places where people are expected to be quiet.
Yes.
But Sue's exhibition, really, the galleries have been filled with not shouting and discussions and arguments and comments and memories floating by. It's really been quite wonderful.
Yes, I mean, Sue also prides herself in having escaped the apartheid era aesthetic because she is ever evolving. And I wonder, even if we're looking at the gallery and the way it's been laid out with the conversations that obviously follow through the halls. I mean, talk to us about what the 8 rooms are filled with, the atrium of the ISANG as well, the layout, and how you envision the visitors' journey through it all.
Well, it actually covers more than half of the gallery. It really is a major retrospective, which is very, very well deserved. And I think it's very useful to see one artist's work. The earliest work on the exhibition is from 1976, and that's kind of just a landscape. And by 1978, she's already starting to do edgy work about politics, the Modderfontein postcard, which is again about a place which was suffering from forced removals and the destruction of homes. And as you walk through the exhibition, it's arranged thematically. So there's a room which shows a few South Africans, that really important portrait series you spoke about, showing women who stood up to apartheid, and the really, and they present it almost as Renaissance portraits. These women are given an enormous amount of respect. People like Miriam Makeba, Winnie Mandela, Annie Selinga, etc. And then there are video. She works in many media, video, print, interactive media. There's an example of an interactive, what was a CD-ROM made in 1999. So he was really a pioneer in this. And with enormous amounts of effort, we kind of reconstructed it. We did a bit of digital archaeology to reconstruct it. And then one moves through various series, All Our Mothers, which again is portraits of South African women, sometimes modest women who, sometimes the big names are there, but really made a contribution to the struggle, or just stood up to apartheid. There's a really important work of Annie Selinga's grave. Annie Selinga, of course, was a woman who defiantly stood against the pass laws, and was horribly oppressed by the old apartheid government, whole life actually. And when she passed away, she had a very modest grave. Sue knew her very well, and she spoke to the family, and she constructed this grave, which was something that would actually give gravitas to it. And unfortunately, the grave was actually destroyed because somebody took the bits of metal for scrap parts. And I asked Sue to reconstruct that grave as a really fitting memorial to Annie Selinga. And then there are numerous other works. A really important newish work is this large obelisk, which fills one of the rooms. And the obelisk is made of tiny little pieces of steel, and it's kind of hollow. So it's not one of those obelisks, and it's a memorial to the women of the Boer War and the people who died in the Boer War. At the bottom, you've got like these burnt branches and these glowing coals, which are actually like based on the chocolate boxes that the Queen gave the British troops. And it's really talking about how the Boer War was a case of oppression by the British, and Afrikaners, the Boers, their farms were destroyed. These women were put in concentration camps. The black servants and workers on those farms were also put into concentration camps. Many of them died, and she's made this monument, which is very fragile. Yeah. It kind of it's only held together by magnets and pieces of metal, and on top of it, it's got these like kind of embroidered panels, which almost like move in the wind. And I just think it's a very beautiful monument, because it's not a kind of masculine monument, made of marble or something like that. Yeah. So and then just one last thing, if I may, there's a wonderful room called the CV room, which basically documents Sue's journey, and it's actually a reconstruction of her studio in the actual gallery itself.
Sure. I mean, Andrew, I know this is just a conversation starter for the life, in times of her, obviously, as we pay homage, but just celebrate her work and thank her for the contribution to South Africa at large. But we're going to leave the conversation there for now. Perhaps it's just left for us to go and attend that exhibition. But Andrew Lamprecht this morning is the curator of Sue Williamson. There's something I must tell you. It's a retrospective exhibition that is on display at the Iziko South African National Gallery. Again, just taking us through the extraordinary life and work of Sue Williamson, one of South Africa's most celebrated artists.